Cascoon.
Hi, Andrea Leonardi. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you? Hey, Fran. Oh, Don, is it your last Board of Ed meeting?
Yeah,
Is this it, Don?
I think it is. Yeah. Hi, Andrea.
Oh, I'm a little heartbroken.
I know, it's sad.
Plenty of mixed emotions, as I've been saying. Yeah.
I'm super proud of you, but I'm sad.
Well, that's kind of you to say.
Hi, Maria. Hi, Dolores. Dolores' big night, once a year.
Hey, Andrea, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Okay. I saw Michelle at Paul Landy's place the other morning.
She was telling me you are a beast in the best possible way. She was telling me.
I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, absolutely. In person.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
All right, where's the gang?
There's another.
Are they in an executive session?
Got it. All right, I'm going to show you guys the cutest picture. Are you ready?
Yes, I want to see him.
So little baby Hudson turned 4 months today.
So cute.
Just
He's
saying.
cute.
You know. So cute, right?
Oh,
So cute.
Hard to believe. He finally made it over 10 pounds too. Finally, little peanut.
yay.
Finally
Oh.
over 10 pounds. 10 pounds feels like a real baby.
Yeah.
Anything under 10 pounds is a little still scary, but 10 pounds, 2 bags of flour, it's a real baby.
Yeah. Took him 4 months, but there we go. Oh, sorry. I didn't know we were recording. Thanks, Maria. Okay, I'm going to mute now.
Oh, hey guys.
Christina.
Oh, look, there's
Yeah.
people.
Welcome. I see Don Shells has joined us. So tonight, Don joins us for his last Wilton Board of Education meeting. So Don, on behalf of the district, I want to say thank you, congratulations, again on your new position as principal up at Chapag. And we hope you know that we wish you the very best as you embark on this new chapter in your professional career. We will miss you.
Oh, well, I appreciate those kind words, just as I've appreciated all the kindness the whole Wilton community has shown me over the years. And thank you, Kevin, for those remarks. And I'm glad to be here with the board one last time.
Great, thanks, Don. So I think most of you know, earlier this week, there was an article published in The Current about a proposed amendment, I believe, to the implementer bill that would seek to withhold state funds derived from casino revenues from any cities or towns with schools that retain mascots, nicknames, or logos with Native American references. Wilton was included on that list. So I made a phone call just to try to understand, what the specific nature of the concern was. And so to the best of my understanding, the concern with Wilton was not with the use of the term warrior as our mascot, which is, actually not a specific reference to Native Americans. The concern was more to do with the image of the lance or spear with feathers that's been used on some of our athletic apparel and as well in some other images. So I want to just give you kind of a brief update of kind of where we are and what I think, we should probably do going forward and how. So first, there shouldn't be any concern about the use of the term warrior. If you look at the etymology of that term, it's, from the 14th century and means, fighter or, someone who engages in war. Our mascot, back many, many, many years ago, was a Native American. And so sometime in around 1983 or 1984, the school and the district changed the mascot to, and there's some confusion about whether it's a Greek or Roman warrior, but it is
Roman. It's
clearly.
definitely Roman.
Debbie said, well, and you were here, so you would know,
Mine's Greek.
right?
Yeah,
So we'll go with Debbie on this one. So our mascot is very clearly a Roman warrior, and if you've been to a football game, you know it, right?
Yeah.
It's there's no hiding that fact. The official logo for Wilton is actually the Wilton W with the curved sides. And there's a fascinating history about how that came about somewhere about that same time period. So I think all of that's fine and good. The images we ought to talk about are, in fact, the, we do see on our football helmets, I looked at my son's lacrosse helmet last week because I didn't think it was there, but, sure enough, there's a lance with feathers. And we see that image all over the place in town, and it's been there for a long time. And we don't want to be engaging in any kind of cultural appropriation or be disrespectful in any way. So we ought to look at that. And so what I think, what I need to do is, go back and have some conversations with our coaches, certainly our athletic director and Dr. O'Donnell, our principal. We've talked about this in the past. We've already made some steps forward in the preceding couple of years. All of the attire that we publish here in the school, you see the lance, but there are no feathers on it. But that's an image that's hanging out there. There's also, with our kids, and again, no offense intended, I'm sure, they adopted the moniker tribe. And so you'll see, when they're out at games, or you'll see it sometimes, painted on, windshields, roll tribe. And so I think, we probably have some educating to do there. So I think we can make some, some beneficial changes as we move forward. And, Debbie and I had a brief conversation about this earlier in the week, and the board, to my knowledge, has never adopted officially, a logo or a mascot, but that might be something that the board wants to do, just to be, clear and transparent and upfront about, what our logos are, who our mascot is, and so on. And so I thought I'll go back, beginning of the summer and do some work with, the folks that I think we need to have some conversations with, and then come back with a proposal that the board can contemplate in the early fall.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. Maybe, okay.
Out of curiosity, how much money do we get from that organization?
Oh,
Talking about
yeah,
funding.
$0. Thank you. I should have noted that.
We get nothing.
Yeah, there are no funds that come to us from that particular. It's the Mashantucket Pequot Fund, I believe. It's the casino revenues.
Okay. So is there anybody in our town or anybody else other than this one thing that has come about that feels that we are racist in any way towards Native Americans?
There is,
It came up once before, not that long ago,
well,
if you
in
recall.
the years that I've been here, there hasn't been any
There was one time. it was-
outcry here. I mean, the questions have been asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's never been, I think in general, there's never been, there's never been a call for change, I think is a fair way to express that.
When I started in the district in 1987,
the discussion, debate, concern was settled. It was recognized that the Native American Indian was not appropriate, not meant, and it was at that point just kind of promulgated and made more public, or made, for anybody that had any doubts, it is the, all right, Roman or Greek warrior. And I think I was telling Ruth that I can attest to the mascot in the 80s that was worn at pep rallies, where my major concern was, what kind of a health hazard is this? Because it's so big and so hot. But it was clearly a warrior with the whole Greek or Roman garb. So I think that tradition, I think, is well established.
Yeah.
Um,
It's 40 years of tradition.
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah. Don't remind me.
34 years, 34 years.
I don't think, though, that it's unreasonable to have kind of a settled logo and to have some control
Yeah.
over how that logo is used and consistency on how that's used across uniforms or other type of,
Yeah, and I guess
related, paraphernalia that goes along with it.
Yeah.
to the note in my report, I think, this is certainly, it's, again, to the, the board's discretion here, but certainly I was intending to do some legwork, and, I think we can put it on as an agenda item and, really have the conversation. And
It's a very
see where
simple
we are.
thing to do. Just eliminate.
Right, and if the board can officially approve or sanction or endorse, then, then booster clubs can take that, or coaches can take that, or private vendors who are, trying to sell the sort of Wilton swag, that everybody knows. And if they go in a different direction, that's on them.
So just a couple of little.
Hey, Kevin.
things.
Kevin, it's
Mandy, is that
Mandy. Yeah, sorry, I'm on my way. What
Okay.
about the wording of tribe? Are you suggesting that tribe came after the warrior, and are we questioning the use of the word tribe?
Yeah, again, Mandy, I think, I haven't really focused on the use of that term explicitly, but there's certainly, a Native American connotation with that word for sure. And so I think it's part of our conversation around, what's appropriate, what our mascot, our logo ought to look like, and so on. That's part of the conversation.
It could be the horde.
Well, I think, again, there's just, this is not something that, at least in my time, that we've really focused on. And there's, like so many other communities where we're, steeped in tradition and practice, and it's an opportunity. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
Okay.
I'm
So
sorry.
you'll come back in August or September?
I will.
Okay.
Yep, I will.
All right, and then write us up some of the history and what you're thinking.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep, so
Thank you.
just a couple of the notes, if you don't mind. First, just on the note of hiring, as you saw earlier, we're really excited to welcome our new high school associate principal, Mr. Brian Keating. He comes to us from Fairfield Ward, where he served as a house principal. Mr. Keating has 28 years of experience as a teacher and administrator at the high school level. He holds a BS in English from UConn, a master's in education also from UConn, and a 6th year from Southern Connecticut. I'll just say, we had 28 candidates in the pool, and from the first hello, Brian really stood out. We sat here with him in his final for, I think, just over 2 hours, and I really left feeling, first, just very impressed with his knowledge and his credentials, his understanding of high-performing high schools and, how they operate, how we operate, and feel very, very strongly that he is going to be a wonderful addition to our high school community. And, given his deep background in instruction, he's going to serve us very well on in supporting and improving our instructional priorities. So we're excited to have Brian. He'll start July 1st.
Okay.
I also shared with you all, we have a maternity leave over at Cider Mill. Lauren Bird is going out for several months. And so looking at, all of the players here and understanding the high stakes nature of what we have to do when kids return to us, We spoke to Jeremy, spoke to Jen, spoke to Kathy, and we are moving Jeremy to Cider Mill. So he'll be there from July 1 through until Lauren returns. We have Bernadette Hess, who's been with us for a number of years in a part-time capacity at Miller Driscoll. So Bernadette is going to be temporarily appointed as full-time. So she'll backfill some of Jeremy's responsibilities. So I feel in terms of experience and expertise, we're covered very, very well. And then.
But Jeremy will go back.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So this is temporary, and, again, thinking about all of the things that need to get to happen, I felt very, very strongly we needed to have the right people in the right places, just so we don't miss a beat. We have a great opportunity for that same time period, and so today we posted for a interim .6 administrator combined with a .4 interventionist, and so you'll see later in the ARP plan that we're pulling together, we're seeking to hire some part-time interventionists in a short-term capacity to support kids. And so our thinking here is we want to entice one of our teachers who's got the 092 credential as well as the teaching credential to take this opportunity to grow and experience some administrative responsibilities as well as to retain some teaching responsibilities. So we see it, Kathy and I were talking about this quite a bit in the last week, and we see this as a real opportunity again to tap into the talent that we have here in the district, and also to create an opportunity to grow and provide some new experiences for one of our staff members. So that's our plan, and I think I feel very good about it. I'm really happy with the way things have come together. And then just the last note here in my report, I want to say thank you to all of you. This has been an extraordinarily difficult year, as we've discussed time and again. But as we were just discussing in the workshop, the partnership with all of you, with this board really has been, I think, the linchpin to our success this year. So I wish you all a very restful summer. It'll be busy when we get back. And so, take advantage of your time away. And, I look forward to picking up when we meet again. Thanks.
Thank you. Committee reports. I think committees met.
Yeah, Ops met
right,
last
go
week.
for it.
And before I get into my report for Ops, I would like to send out a shout out to our senior AV staff, or whoever the responsible people are that put together the videos of the senior yearbook that came out today. And if you haven't seen it, I don't know where it's linked to or how you can get access to it. It's about 20 minutes long. It's phenomenal. I mean, it is so great to see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just
Oh
came
my
this
gosh.
afternoon.
It's
Right,
20
we're
minutes.
excited.
It came this afternoon. So if you're watching, if you haven't seen it and you have it and you can access it, please do. Our kids in that department are just remarkable. Well done, guys and gals, I'm sure. So that's great.
Some of them have graduated, so.
Some of them are seniors. They're probably not watching now, but anyway.
Or they're downstairs.
Or they're downstairs working. It could be.
More accurate.
Ops met, and we did a number of things. We reviewed current and projected enrollment and staffing requirements. We did a financial review of how we expect to see the year end, which is positive, and on target, on budget. We had felt at some point in the beginning of the year that we were going to have to go to the Board of Finance for additional funding, which as a result of the steps that the administration made during the course of the year, canceling things, cutting things, stopping spending, and some other assets that we were able to receive that Anna's done a great job with. We were on target without having to go to the Board of Finance, which was a real positive thing for the town and for us. The other thing we talked about for sometimes planning for next year, Chris Strauff has developed a spreadsheet that we need to work on to get at comparable expenses by category, per student expenses, to try and get a better handle on how our money is being spent, where it's being spent, and then how we compare to other districts in the DIRG. And Kevin provided us with a spreadsheet that gives us a lot of comparative information, and we're favorable across the board, just about in every category, with other schools in the DIRG. So I have no issue with where we are financially in that regard. Okay?
Yeah,
That's it. Okay.
perfect, comprehensive. Policy, you met, right?
Policy, we met. We had a good discussion on student dress And we're advancing and drafting some changes to the current policy, and also the implementation and regulation that goes along with how that policy is used consistently across the district and across our schools. And I think we landed in a place that we're kind of ready to share. The draft will be shared with different school administrators and building administrators over the summer, and worked on a little bit, and hopefully wind up being before the board probably mid-September. And we also then looked at just our overall policy audit calendar and how we're advancing through, and just making sure that we get everything reviewed in a timely fashion. And then we also kind of looked at some of our policies that had been COVID-19 specific, and looked at what needed to carry on or what needed to change or not change in relation to that. And the changes that we had made to most of the attendance policies and the student behavior policies and those types of regulations didn't mandate any changes. The green cleaning can stay the way it is, and you'll see later on that the visitors, that policy will revert back to how it was.
Still normal?
Pre-pandemic, yes.
Pre-pandemic.
Okay,
Right. Great news.
great.
Yep.
Thanks.
Teaching and Learning Committee also met. We actually had a really productive meeting, I thought. We began discussions about race, equity, and inclusion, and how that is embedded into our curriculum. And it just kind of prompted some other discussions. Karen Brennicke and Fran Compar joined us to speak. We talked about course outlines, and I think they're already out there. It's just maybe finding a way to make it a little bit easier for families to access. Karen had a great idea about having parent forums to talk about different social issues that would be discussed throughout the year, so parents kind of knew what was happening ahead of time. And then we also talked about maybe having the board look at some of those social standards and kind of talking about how we felt about them, and did we think they were appropriate for the certain ages, and kind of where we were as a board. Kind of taking a look at that before we move forward.
Is that all? Just kidding. That was sarcastic. That's quite a bit. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, review and discuss. Continuing education report.
Great, so we want to welcome Dolores Tufariallo, who is our phenomenal continuing education director. I hope she's still there. I saw her before.
There she is.
Oh, there she is. So Dolores,
There she is.
I hate to say, there you go.
There you
Okay.
go.
Okay.
Yeah, so welcome. Dolores, you're up.
Thank you so much. First, I'd like to thank the board for your financial support, Kevin for the leadership, principals, Fran Compar and your group, Maria and Human Resources, just everyone here tonight for your support, because without your support, we would not be here, and we know that. The primary focus this year was on childcare, the childcare for Wilton Public School families, and for the support staff, instructional staff children. That was the primary focus, along with supervision of remote learners. Additionally, we focused on outdoor programs, and we tried to institute as many as we possibly could, because we could not be inside until later this spring. A collaboration that we formed was with the Riverbrook Regional Y. We had a really great experience having our remote learners there and childcare there on Wednesdays. It was a very positive experience, and out of that came winter outdoor programs. We offered paddle programs for adults and young students. They have terrific facilities there. I mean, it's like a little country club, and it's another gem in our community. So I'd like to thank Bob and Shayna and that whole crew there for being so welcoming and so supportive. We offered throughout the entire pandemic, except for the first initial months, we offered 2 programs that were consistent throughout the whole year. That was outdoor and indoor tennis and knitting, believe it or not. It ran the whole pandemic year. Now, how did that run? The outdoor and indoor programs ran in Wilton, but we also expanded it over to New York and Vista, New York. The knitting group was supported. First, we had Zoom knitting meetings, and we had one generous client that offered up her optical shop. Her name is Margaret Hollander in Westport. We had 2 beautifully cleaned rooms there for 8 attendees, and our knitter, who is a Wilton resident, Kate Fulaski, and she helped facilitate that. This spring, we're continuing. We have a huge tennis program. We have a solid knitting group. We have a solid bridge group that's going on right now in the room next door. I'm over at Middlebrook right now. And we put in place a pickleball program with the goal of not just instructing pickleball, but trying to get a community program going, just like they have in other towns. In terms of progress, we opened the childcare registration in May. We're at full capacity. We opened the registration, and within 7 minutes, all 3 programs filled. So we also have wait lists. So principals, I'm going to be coming back to you for additional space if you have it. You were very kind to us this year, so I thank you. We are in the process. We opened Monday with summer camps. So we have Sal Gimo and his crew over at Be a Good Sport at Miller Driscoll. We have a tennis program going on at Middlebrook Courts. That actually ended, I believe, today. And we had Red Cross babysitting. And we're just going to keep rolling it out through the summer. We're pretty much at full capacity for summer too. So we're back.
That's great.
Yeah. Bravo.
Wonderful,
well done.
thank you.
Well done.
Can I ask one question about the childcare program that fills up so quickly? If there is that much demand, is there any possibility of expansion?
There is. It's a space, it's dependent upon space. That's what it's dependent upon, space, and, we have to hire. So we're trying to hire back. I don't know if you know this, but we had to let go about 6 people of the childcare staff because the registration numbers weren't there really this year. It was, it was tremendously low, but picked up in the spring. So we're trying to hire those childcare instructors back, and it's always dependent upon the space.
Okay, I understand. All right.
Dolores, is this space just it's in our school district though, right? It's like in our,
Yes.
like in Miller Driscoll, or is it Cider Mill also?
Yes.
Yes, it's in Miller Driscoll and Cider Mill for childcare. We run 3 programs.
So who makes those decisions about space?
Oh, we work with the principals.
Okay.
Well, thank you for keeping the program going in a creative way during the year, and having it back full is amazing because it's not even the end of June yet. So thank you.
Thank you.
You do a tremendous job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm going to add to that. So Dolores, we met periodically over the course of the year.
Sure.
As you know, Dolores, when the, pandemic struck, she jumped right in, and her attitude, as always is, but it's can do and what can we do?
Yeah.
And so I just, since we have the opportunity to have you here in public tonight, Dolores, I just want to commend you in front of our board and everybody else who's listening. Your work is exemplary. And so, we're thrilled that you are bringing these programs back and better than ever. So thank you.
Thank you. I really feel honored to be working with this spectacular group of professionals, and I feel blessed, and I also feel very proud of the work we do for the district and for the Wilton families. And I really was so happy to be a part of this effort all year long. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Dolores.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. An update on summer facility work? I
Yeah.
know it's fairly short,
It
but
is, because we're not doing much, unfortunately. So we have our routine maintenance planned, and part of that will be putting our classrooms back to the way, they were, pre-March 2020, taking sneeze guards down, doing the routine cleaning, things like that. And then beyond that, we've have in the budget some funds for painting. There's a gate that's being installed to better manage traffic flow over at Miller Driscoll. Cider Mill we're starting the roofing project there, so that's all bonded capital. It's part of the portion of the front side of Cider Mill where the roof is being replaced. We're also finally able to replace that canopy. So that's, that's been on the list for several years, so we're happy that that's going to get done. There's some, additional speakers that will be installed. And then we're addressing some of the motors that are just well beyond their lifespan in the gym over there. At Middlebrook, we've got painting. The restrooms, so as you know, we took those, we had those on, we took them out of the budget. I took them out of the budget and then folded them into the larger plan. Right now, I asked Jose just to get everything ready, and so we're working with Ann and Mary Ann, and if we have additional unencumbered funds, we're hoping to actually go forward with that project this summer because they're an eyesore. One of the benefits of having Jose is, he's just relentless, and so he went back to the vendors, he revised the scope of the project and brought down the cost pretty substantially. So, I think what was originally a $60,000 project, we're not going to address the flooring in those bathrooms, so it brought the cost way down to, I think we're somewhere, 20 to 30,000. So, we'll see where we land when we close out the books this year.
Okay.
If we have it, we'll do it. If not, then it'll just carry forward when we come back with the major project proposal. And then also,
If I could say something,
No,
rather
sure.
than doing it halfway, okay, cheaping out on it, I would prefer to wait until we get the overall big project done and do it right,
well, I'll take that feedback.
okay? But,
Yeah.
I mean, the floor, it's okay, but it should be a total redo,
Yeah,
okay?
I'll pass that feedback along. How's that?
Yeah, I know, I mean that sincerely. I mean, I would love to have it redone, but I would rather have it done well, okay? And as part of the major project, if that's the case, then rather than trying to cheap out and do it halfway. Okay?
Fair enough. All right, so I'll stand by. I'll come back to you
Okay.
with where we are.
All right.
At the high school, we have an elevator replacement scheduled. So we did an elevator at Middlebrook 2 years ago. I think we have another 3 across the district. So the freight elevator is the second. That'll be done this summer. And then just some minor work. We're extending the Wi-Fi ports in the auditorium. We've got some exterior lights we want to add, and then the soundboard is due for replacement next week. So really, not too much.
the next item is reopening plan in progress and draft of the ARP plan. So Kevin, can you explain all that
I can
terminology?
try. So we're, so as you know, we are, busy laying out our plans to fully reopen school when we return at the end of August. The opportunity that's in front of us comes in the form of the funds provided to the state of Connecticut through the American Recovery Program. And so Connecticut on the whole is slated to receive, I think, somewhere around 1.1 billion. Wilton's share of that is $833,000. And so as part of that, 20% must be dedicated to addressing learning recovery. So I think I'll start with what you had. The document I shared with you today is the plan template delivered to us from the state of Connecticut, which was created, I believe, by the federal government. And so the intent of the ARP money is to fully reopen schools. And so when I look at that plan template, there are kind of pre-filled features that don't necessarily apply fully to the state of Connecticut and the schools in Connecticut. And that's because we have been operating in person for the entire school year. And there are many schools in many districts across the country that haven't been. And so you start with, in the plan proposal, all of these features around mitigation strategies. So I've been keeping up with phone calls both with the state and the regional superintendents network, as well as the couple of calls the State Department of Ed has offered so far on guidance and how to develop this plan. The recommendation we received at this point was to keep it as simple as possible, and then there are certain steps we have to take. So let me talk to you first about what's in the plan and what we're thinking about how we'd like to allocate these funds, and then I'll talk to you about the steps that we have to take. So with respect to the mitigation strategies, the advice that we received from the State Department of Ed was, propose in the plan for the time being the strategies you've had in place. And so what I've noted is, in probably each of those things, we will be following state guidance, and whether it's the State Department of Ed or the State Department of Public Health. I don't have a timeline yet for when that guidance will be updated, but what I'm told is it will be updated, and that will be based on local conditions here, relative to COVID across the state. And so, as I'm sure you're all aware, I religiously monitor COVID activity. I have been for months and months, and as of today, we're at, I think, a low since we've been, tracking those metrics. So. Unless something goes sideways, I'm anticipating, we'll continue to be, in a very low COVID spread environment, which is great news. So there's a question about, will masks be mandated or not? That's not known at this point. And so, right now, what we're proposing is we'll follow the guidance, and then, when we get that guidance, we'll evaluate it and see what it says. In terms of physical distancing, we're saying to the extent that it's possible, we'll physical distance, but we're not, I don't believe, we'll be needing to adhere to 3-foot minimums like we were, during the height of the pandemic. So what I'm imagining is, if we have opportunities where we need to spread out because we have, very large groups of people coming together, then, we'll take those opportunities, but, we won't be distancing the way that we have been, all this year. We'll, continue to, retain our hand washing and respiratory etiquette practices. That's just good practice. So, you'll see when you come in and out of our buildings next year, just like you did this year, we'll have the hand sanitizing stations available for people. With respect to cleaning and maintaining healthy facilities, we won't be retaining the additional custodial staff in the way that we had this year. We'll, expect to have the guidance, the DPH guidance on cleaning updated, but we'll be, continuing to disinfect those, high-touch areas as we have, but we won't be doing the kind of deep cleaning so regularly that, we had done earlier in the year. The ventilation, we're also expecting that guidance to be updated, but we've been, ventilating our buildings very thoroughly this year, so we'll expect to, probably not to the same extent, but we'll continue to ventilate pretty robustly as we move forward in the fall. We have a thank you to, Maria and our building administrators, Erica Cross. We have a very robust contact tracing protocol in place. So, should we need it, we have it, and we'll go back to it. As you know, we set up diagnostic screening and testing, so we'll have a voluntary option to do that should people elect to. We'll continue that in the fall. We do have, I wrote here the majority of our staff have been vaccinated. Debbie sent me a question about do I have numbers, and I actually don't because we didn't survey the staff. What I have is when we initially surveyed the folks, we had an incredibly high interest. We know we had high participation in the local vaccination clinic, and we also know that we had many others who went out and got vaccinated on their own. So I feel confident in that statement. We can talk about whether or not we want to survey and solicit what those numbers are, but we haven't done that yet. With respect,
Kevin, are you even able to do that for HIPAA reasons?
We've been very sensitive to the privacy concerns, and so that's why we've elected not to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and so different districts have operated differently.
Could it be anonymous?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I don't really care
Yeah.
who, but it'd be nice to know 80% of our staff is vaccinated, or, whatever. I just
Yeah.
wonder.
We always ask, they don't have to respond.
Yeah,
That's
well, if
fine.
it's
Voluntarily.
anonymous,
Yeah.
then maybe that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and I think, we have the, the information we have the town information that gets reported to us
Okay.
through the
Okay.
State Department
Sure.
of Public Health. And so that's about, Marie and I can talk about, if we wanted to do that, how we would go about doing that. And then we'll provide vaccination information as it's made available. I'm expecting, at some point in the next few months, we'll receive information about, vaccination availability for children under the age of 12. And so certainly, we'll share that as it becomes available. We have established policies that address accommodations for our children with disabilities, and so those will remain in place. And I think that's, generally speaking, our suite of mitigation strategies. So the ARP plan, or the ARP proposal really spoke to this idea of continuity of services. And I think the intention there, that's not Wilton Public School language, that's, either state or federal government language. And really what that speaks to is fully reopening schools and providing the, complement of services and support, whether they're education, medical support, social emotional support, health and nutrition support. But the plan is looking to, is calling to speak to those things. So for us, we're really focused on learning, unfinished learning, and addressing intervention needs, as well as, providing additional support for social, emotional, and mental health needs of students. And so some of these activities you're already aware of. We have a suite of activities that we're launching beginning next week. So we have extended academic intervention services for students in grades K to 11. Chuck has spoken to you about that previously. We're launching a high school summer enrichment program. And then for our administrators and staff, later in July, we are engaging with the Connecticut Center for School Change, where we'll be participating in professional learning around this accelerated learning framework. And in a nutshell, the idea here is to just ensure that our systems and practices are aligned with delivering key grade level curriculum. And so any content recovery we have to do, we do that while we are delivering grade level curriculum. And so there's a framework that's been established, and there's another component related to that that really focuses on task design. And so really thinking very critically about the daily lessons that teachers develop and implement, and holding a critical lens to those lessons to ensure that the tasks are tied to standards and truly at grade level. Related to that piece is another progress monitoring and data tracking and data response component that is folded into that we'll be also continuing to develop. As we think about the fall and students returning, we've already spoken about using some of these funds to provide additional classroom staff. In fact, we've already dedicated some funds to doing that, so we've hired additional staff at Millard Driscoll. We continue to watch the enrollment at Cider Mill, thinking we may see a surge there at some point this summer. So some of the funds will be dedicated to those staff members. We're also looking at providing supplemental support services before and after school, so some wraparound services, very much the way that we provided them in the spring of this year. So just some additional opportunities in literacy and mathematics. And, as I talk about intervention and some of these other programs, those are the two areas that we're targeting primarily. And then within the school day, we're looking to take advantage of using some part-time hourly interventionists to provide additional support in the classroom alongside classroom teachers to really pull smaller groups and focus on discrete skill development during the school day. And so we're looking at having interventionists across the district, primarily at the two lower schools, but also at Middlebrook as well. Chuck, alongside the high school administration, is looking at developing and implementing an SAT preparation program specifically for our junior class. there was, some questions raised, and that looked like an opportunity to dovetail curriculum with some core math and literacy skill needs. And then we have a proposal to add some additional mental health service support through a contract with an organization out of Norwalk, Family and Children's Agency. There's a lot of question about, what are we going to see when kids return in the fall? And so there's a widely held expectation that we're going to see, some increased levels of generalized anxiety among our students as they return to school, coming out of the pandemic year here. And so through a contract with Family and Children's Agency, we have access to a full suite of mental health services, counseling. We get to be at the front of the line for referring. And then we also have access to their ICAPS program, which is intensive in-home psychiatric services for students who present as acute. And that's, as you know, as we've talked about earlier this year, that's been a gap for us. And so we've really had to scramble with some of our other community partners to try to make sure that our kids are able to be seen in a timely manner. With all of that, I will just say, while $831,000 is fabulous, it goes very quickly when we start to talk about adding temporary staff and addressing salaries. And so we've looked at this, and we're trying to focus in the short term on really skilling kids up, and as soon as they get back into the mix. So some of these interventions we're looking at is probably, and so as we get deeper into the school year, to the conversation we're having before, the learning data that we get back is really going to be instructive in terms of what steps need to be taken next as we move through the late winter, early spring of next year. In terms of process, so the way this is, the way we're obligated, we develop a draft plan, and then we put it out through a series of venues for public comment. So the first go is here with you tonight, and we'll certainly be revisiting this. We will post the plan on our website. I'll also be embedding this in a survey that I will send out for all of our families to comment on. We'll send it to Andrew Nixaji in the WEA. We'll send it to the PTA presidents, and we'll just, we'll invite feedback, and I'll gather that feedback over the next couple of months. We'll look at that, and then if we have to make adjustments, we'll make adjustments. The application for the funds will be due later in August. And so, this is a pretty generalized plan, and then we'll get, very specific in the actual application, where we'll be, targeting the real specifics, the specific number of interventions, the dollar amount, the kind of SMART goals that are associated with what we're expecting to achieve as a result of, using folks like that. That'll be really pretty involved.
Does the board ultimately need to approve this when it's ready in August, or no?
That wasn't a provision, no.
Okay.
The $800,000 is an ESSER grant. That's already done, correct?
The 800 is the ARP grant.
Is ARP?
Yeah, 800 is ARP.
I thought it was ESSER.
ESSER, so people conflate ESSER and ARP. There was.
It's been referred to in our
ESSER
meetings
1,
as ESSER.
ESSER 2, and ARP. So ESSER 2, we received, I think, $360,000.
Okay.
And those funds we are using to hire
Middle Driscoll staff.
an
Right.
interventionist
Right.
and the half-time counselor here at the high school.
And so we have funds coming to us from ARP. We know for sure.
Yes, that's what this plan is. It's the 831,000.
Over and above what we've gotten from the ESSER. already.
Correct. Right. Some people refer to this as ESSER 3, Glenn,
Okay.
and that's
That's why it's
actually accurate.
it's confusing. So if the guidelines come out, okay, at some point in the future, and guidelines say that to come back to school, you have to be masked, and we say, no. Enough is enough already with the masking. okay? It's proven, it doesn't, and we don't do that, is that $800,000 at risk?
It's a great question, and if it was a condition in the application, then yes, of course.
So I think people need to understand, we need to be very clear about that, because I will tell you that the expectation, I'm sure, among most of our parents is that we're going to be able to come back to school in the fall as before, fully normal, no mask, etc. But if the plan says, nope, sorry guys, you're going to have to eat masks again until we tell you otherwise, then we put that 800,000 would then be at risk.
Yeah, I think that's something, where what's embedded in the, the plan guidelines
Yeah.
is reliance on
Follow these guidelines,
the
right?
State Department of Education guidance, the, State Department of Public Health guidance, and so
Okay. So it's a big decision that to be made.
we'll have to, we're going to
Yeah.
watch what's happening this summer.
Okay.
And, I think, what we saw previously as well is that the State Department of Education, turned around to local health authorities and left it to, more local decision-making, and so.
Hopefully, and ours will say, okay, fine.
Yeah,
But
I mean, the guidance hasn't been published yet, so I
I know.
can't tell you what's in it.
Yeah, I know. But we just need to be ready in the event that it should come negatively from what we're expecting.
Yeah, and I think, as I've said before.
I wouldn't be surprised.
With the exception of masking.
Yeah.
Because that is an unknown at this point.
Yeah. Everything else makes sense. Everything else we're doing, okay, my concern is the masking requirement. We could do the other stuff. But there's so many parents in our system who are so ready to give it up and have begged for us to give it up. It's just, and rightfully so. Particularly the little kids who don't see you smile.
But the good news is we
It's
have,
critical.
the masking requirements have already loosened, so as you know, for outdoors, and so
Yeah.
we took advantage of that as soon as we were
Okay.
able to.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, anyway, sorry, I don't want
Yeah,
to take
and I think it's a little premature to conjecture.
Yeah, I know.
till August.
But, yeah,
I just
okay.
think we need a little bit more time.
Do you have
All right.
any reason to believe that this money would be linked to what we decide as a town regarding masks?
I think that the money will be linked to guidance, to adopting the guidance, and so what I understand today is that conditions locally will drive decision-making.
Okay,
Right, okay,
okay.
just be ready. I'm usually very optimistic. In this case, I'm not a big optimist about how things are going to come down.
So we're moving in the right direction.
Oh, I know.
All of the indicators
Yeah,
are very,
I know.
very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you
Okay.
have reason to be optimistic.
Yeah.
I certainly am.
Okay. Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, moving on to action items. We have seen the portrait of the graduate in the work in compiling it, and then the Board of Ed had a workshop, and we also had a meeting, it was on our agenda last time. So, are there any further comments, questions,
We
et
just got
cetera, before we take?
these 3 additional changes from our last, or not?
These were the changes that we made as a
Made.
result of the workshop.
Right,
You've seen them
okay,
already.
Got it, okay, good, that's what.
Yeah, those were,
Okay.
they were highlighted last meeting.
All right. I move we approve and adopt the portrait as developed as it stands.
Can I make one very picky comment?
Of course.
So most of our statements start with possesses, articulates, improves, communicates, engages, and then we hit some that say develop, is able to. I think there's only 2 places where it changed, actually there's 3, because then later on it says skillfully transfers. Is there a way for us to be consistent all the way down?
Sure.
Or
So
if nobody cares, then it's fine. It's more of a personal pickiness.
So you want to add an S?
Yep,
All right, so develop,
yep. But then changing is able to listen, we would say
listens.
listens.
listens with
Right.
compassion,
Listen,
understanding.
Compassion.
And changing skillfully transfers. You could say transfers past learning into new situations skillfully.
Yep, just put skillfully in a different place.
Well done.
All right.
With those changes,
Sorry.
no, then I move we adopt the portrait of the graduate.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mandy. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, approved.
Well
Thank
done. Yeah, it's well
Yes.
done. It's a lot of work, but
A
well
lot
done.
of minds around this,
Yeah.
yes, so, thank you. The next item is appointment of someone to fill our Board of Ed vacancy. And just very quickly to summarize that we want to thank Gretchen Jeans for her service on the board and wish her well as she moves to Florida. It does create a vacancy for us, and I've recommended in a memo to you that Laura Schwem be appointed to that vacancy. As you know, Laura has been a board member from 2011 to 2019. She was on the Teaching and Learning Committee. She was also secretary and then later vice chair. So I think we're lucky to have someone who's interested and has the time to commit the effort that it's going to take to be on the board for the next few months.
Okay. It doesn't say that. There's nothing in here that says this is temporary.
Yes, it is a vacancy, and
But it
then
doesn't say that.
by town charter, we can't go any further than that.
Well, yeah, you can appoint somebody to fill an unexpired term.
No, we can't. We can't.
It happened to me.
You're only good, if you will, until the next general election, which happens in November. And even if that wasn't true, Gretchen's term is up in November.
Okay, all right, okay, fine. All right, okay, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure technically we're good. Okay.
Yes.
All right, okay.
It is only to fill until
Until the November election, the next
until
election
Gretchen's term expires.
Okay. If we could just make that,
Okay,
comment in here, that'd be fine. Okay, because it doesn't say that.
to fill the vacancy on the Board of Education, until Gretchen's term had
Until the
expired?
expiration,
Okay,
until the expiration of that term.
okay,
Yeah, just something like that. I mean, just technically, it would make sense to do that. Okay?
sure.
And I think it's great. Glad she's coming back.
All right, that the Board of Education appoint Laura Schwem to fill the vacancy on the Board of Ed created by the June 15th resignation of member Gretchen Jeans until expiration of such term.
Right, period.
How's that?
Yeah, perfect.
Of such term.
Okay, perfect.
You're doing the lawyer and me proud.
Hey, we got a lawyer, what am I doing this for?
It was the right question to ask, huh?
Yeah. I still think the town charter doesn't let you go beyond the next election, but that's just me. Okay, so that recommendation, is there a motion to adopt that recommendation?
Do you have a second?
So moved.
Sorry. Did I hear a second?
I didn't hear it first.
So you need a motion.
Yes.
Did. Oh, so
All right.
moved.
And is there-
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Meeting calendar. And as I pointed out earlier, this meeting calendar does not put any July meetings on it, so we don't have to cancel July meetings, there just aren't July meetings.
Right.
Unless Kevin, and this is always true, wanted to call a special Board of Ed meeting.
Which
So is
could happen
there,
anytime.
yeah, is there a motion to approve the Board of Ed meeting calendar for 21-22?
So moved.
Thank you, Ruth. Second, Mandy, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's approved.
And
We already talked
subsequent
about,
committee calendars will come later.
Yes, the committee calendars. And also maybe just formatting suggestion was to highlight, put stars around, whatever, light up the Board of Ed dates on the district calendar.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding, Lucille,
No.
but somehow highlight
I
it.
heard that in the workshop when I was watching.
Okay.
I actually have a calendar similar to the district calendar for you guys with all of the meetings and the committee meetings.
Okay.
So-
Okay,
Okay.
all right, and I
do it
think,
on the website as well.
perfect, yeah, and this was also just to help the
The parents,
public.
when they print out the yearly calendar,
Sure.
they have in one place.
All right.
All right. Lucille, are there comments from the public?
Take a look. If there were none, I just looked a minute ago.
One was just sent.
Yeah, hold on. It's just labeled my comment. Jared Martin. I reject all concepts of equity as they are rooted in Inram X. Kendi's hypothetical prose. I will not allow our town to become racist. All the science regarding masks shows there is no basis to continue. Jared T. Martin. And then he followed it up with a second, Ibram to be clear. And that is all.
Okay, thank you. And as I say, with all public comment, the board does not directly respond, but follows up as appropriate. Any further public comment? That was it, Lucille?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, that brings us to the end of our agenda, and then I adjourn the meeting. So everyone have a wonderful summer.
I see you in August.
Thanks to our camera crew for being here tonight. So thank you.
See you in August.
All right, thank you. And goodbye to the Zoom
Zoom crowd.
participants.
Bye-bye.